I'm Brandon Willis. This is Weston Taylor. Weston, I'm excited to talk to you today about the new oyster program that USDA has, and then some things that we add on top of it that look really promising. Weston, I consider you to be the oyster insurance expert in the nation, in part because of what you've created, which is this tool that allows us to show how a product would have worked historically. The reason that's valuable, obviously, is one, it tells somebody, have they done historically kind of what it would have cost them, what it would have paid them, but just as important, maybe even more important, it kind of teases the numbers and it tells us if you're going to do it next year, what should I be looking at? When has it historically paid the best? What's worth doing? What's not worth doing? So with that introduction, tell us a little bit about kind of this tool you've created, why it's worth looking at.
Sure. We're only in year 2 of the oyster or the shellfish insurance program. And the part that I'm most excited about is the ability that the producer has to now add a HIPWI, Hurricane Insurance Protection Wind Index, and a tropical storm endorsement on top of their underlying policy.
So basically what you're saying is if you buy the underlying oyster policy, there's 2 products that USDA has that you can purchase with it basically, and those look really promising as well.
Yes, and really the attraction is prior to the shellfish insurance program, it was difficult for oyster producers to take advantage of that hurricane insurance program. But with it now as an underlying policy, they're able to add endorsement.
So here's another question, because if I'm a producer out there, oyster producers, I'm going to talk about ELAP. Oyster insurance isn't something we've really had before, at least not really successfully.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stop at the basics, or start with the basics. Does your information, this tool that has been created that allows us to look in history and apply the current rules to tell us how it would work, is oyster insurance worth doing?
Well, Brandon, I think the best way to answer that question is just to actually jump onto the tool.
Okay.
And let's look at a couple of counties. We can start in North Carolina, and then
tell me really briefly, where is this oyster insurance available?
Sure. It started out fairly small last year as a pilot first year. USDA has expanded that. If you look on the screen right here, I'll show you that these are the states and the counties. A lot of them are expanded now.
Okay.
And the producer could go ahead and pause the screen right now if they wanted to see if their county was covered.
Okay. Okay. So let's just assume we're in an area where you can purchase oyster insurance. Walk us through the numbers. Give us the Reader's Digest version. Is it worth doing? If I'm an oyster producer, should I spend the time to look into this fall?
All right, Brian, let's jump on and look at this screen. So you can see right here, this is the quota. We're looking at North Carolina, Carteret County. What producers are required to do is determine how many oysters they harvest per year, depending on the number of purchased and their survival rate. We won't get into this too much for the interest of time. But basically, in this example, this producer is expecting to harvest about 500,000 oysters. In North Carolina, the established price is 60 cents. That gives them an underlying value of $301,000. If we jump over here to our quota, this is what the quota looks like. Now, there's options here, right? A producer can choose a 50% coverage all the way up to a 75% coverage. Each coverage level is subsidized at a different rate, and then you can also add this HIPWI, this hurricane insurance, on top of it.
Do you think when you've looked through these numbers, is there a sweet spot? In other words, is there a combination of oyster insurance and the add-ons, the hurricane, tropical storm endorsements that are worth doing? I'm going to caveat that by we don't actually know the oyster numbers because they're very individualized,
yeah.
But you do know the other numbers. So when you look at just the other ones, is there a sweet spot in your opinion? Has this tool told us there's a sweet spot?
Well, I think it's going to depend on the producer, their tolerance of risk, and the county that they're in. Some counties, as everyone knows, are more likely to be hit by a hurricane. And if you're living in one of those counties, I think leveraging the hurricane insurance program makes a lot of sense. Probably maybe even look at the maximum of 45%. If you're living in a county where you haven't seen a lot of hurricanes, then probably maybe you would want to leverage more of the shellfish policy. If we continue to look at this North Carolina county and look at the history, what the quota does is it goes ahead and it pulls out the hurricanes that have happened over the last 10 years. You can see in Carteret, you've had 10 hurricanes in the last 10 years, 2 in the last 5. And just real quick, what the numbers look like here. A maximum hurricane coverage, a producer would have paid $91,000 in premium.
This is total premium,
Everything.
Yep,
Yep, that includes the Shellfish underlying policy
Yep.
and the HIPWE up on top. And they would have received a $271,000 indemnity for, coming out ahead about $180,000.
And just to be clear, we're using today's cost and kind of historical occurrences, right?
Exactly.
Just to be clear on
this.
that.
This is 2025 premium rates.
Yep.
And what they would have done had they been in effect when the hurricanes hit.
Perfect. Do you mind showing us? Keep going.
Yeah. And then in this county, and our next example will be a little bit different, but in this county, the tropical storm has not benefited them at all, because you've only had one tropical storm. Really, most of the tropical storms have been hurricanes, and it doesn't allow you to double dip. And so basically you paid a little bit extra premium on the tropical storm and not got a lot of bang. But if we go ahead and jump down to Florida.
So that last one was a North Carolina example. Now we're going to look at a Florida example, kind of illustrating, just depending on the risk, the underlying oyster policy can cost more or less in certain areas. The hurricane endorsement, the wind, they can all be changed, right? All be different depending on where you're located.
And it's really why the tool is valuable, is because the rates are different. Historically, what's happened with hurricanes is different. Every producer is going to have different numbers, and the tool allows us to put all that in and kick out a really detailed, tailored quote for a producer. So again, here, now we're looking at Franklin County in Florida. We're going to use the same numbers just for ease of example. You'll notice that the commodity value is a little bit bigger here because Florida has a 62 cents instead of a 60 cent established price. Now here's an interesting part. So again, same screen, but you'll notice the numbers are quite a bit different. This hurricane insurance is a lot lower, and the shellfish is a little bit higher.
And when you say lower, you mean the cost?
Yes, the premium.
Okay.
The premium
cost
cost.
of doing it.
Yes. Okay. And you can, if we jump over here to the history, we can see why. So in this case, in this county, we've had 2 hurricanes in the last 10 years and 2 tropical storms. Now, what's different, and the reason we're kind of highlighting this morning, is these tropical storms happened when a hurricane did not, and as a result, the tropical storm coverage actually benefited this producer quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on what the risk tolerance is for a producer.
And let me ask you this. Okay, we have this tool. Does this tool work for any area where the oyster program has been released?
Yes.
So anybody who's eligible for the oyster program can call you. You can give them their numbers.
Yep. And so what we've done, Brandon, is we've gone into USDA sites, pulled off their premiums off the actuarial documents. USDA also has a historical of where the hurricanes have triggered and the tropical storms. We have that in the database. When we put in the county, it pulls it all in.
I'm just going to add the caveat. Look, you've done your darndest to make sure these are 100% accurate. They're not better than they should be at all. Mistakes happen. Hopefully there's none here. I just would add that to this as context. So the take home for me is, if I'm an oyster producer and the crop insurance program is available, it's worth my time to at least look at it.
Right.
Let the numbers speak for themselves. And I'm going to caveat that even. Just because the numbers look great historically doesn't mean they're going to look great in the future. And just because it looks like, well, it never really did much in the past, doesn't mean that it won't do a whole lot in the future. When RMA, sets the prices, we call them rates. They try to do it over a long period of time. And, I think they do a good job at that. But give us your phone number for those who are watching and want to call, and also give us the deadline of when this sign up ends.
Sure. Sign up has begun. It started September 1st. It will end December 1st. My number, you can see it on the screen. It's 435-491-0521. Here's my email as well, weston@ranchersinsurance.com. My hope is that if you're growing oysters in containers and you live in one of these counties, you at least take a look at it. Our USDA has worked really hard to make it attractive. They've made some real improvements, and we think that it's something that producers really ought to take a look at. They'll be happy to help them do it. We could throw their numbers into the quoter.
Yeah, I want to say two things. First of all, USDA they continually make this better. So even if you maybe saw an extension presentation last year,
Right.
it's different. It's
Right.
already
They've
different from
improved
that.
it. Yes, they have.
And second of all, look, if you're going to sit down, you want to sit down with somebody who knows the program. This is not like corn, soybeans, cotton, rice, right? This is a very different program. I'm going to throw you a bone and say, look, if I want to sit and learn about this program, I'm going to go to Weston Taylor because he's got a tool that nobody else has.
It's really new, and we've surely done our best, and we think we've got something that can really help producers.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you.